What's going on, traders? We got a lot to talk about, but we got to make this quick because it is election day. So I want to get you guys up out of here very fast. In the last video, we were talking about an election rally. We were talking about this in the last two videos, right? Where we are looking at a potential rally back to the upside to pretty much clear a lot of this space that we left open after that drop or after this drop right here, right? And what's very interesting is what we talked about in regards to the NQ on how the NQ continues to hold its rising wedge pattern. It's failed to break below the rising wedge pattern. Now, we saw on the triple Qs that it broke below its rising wedge pattern. We saw on the SPY, we saw it on NVIDIA, we saw it across the board where a lot of these bearish patterns were being broken down, but the NQ continues to hold or continue to hold this pattern. And another thing we talked about is this area right here on how the NQ just could not break below this area. So one thing I was wrong about was seeing more downside. I honestly thought the SPY would at least see about 565 before we start seeing upside. It got as low as about 567, so I was a little bit off, but regardless, I was wrong about that on seeing initial downside prior to this rally. But overall, it seems like I'm right about the actual rally, and it looks like it's finally here, and we're going to see more upside. So again, this area right here, I really want you guys to mark this area until we break below this area and somewhat break out below this rising wedge pattern. It's really tough to be like hardcore bearish, and I've mentioned this multiple times. I can't be full blown bearish until we break below these guys right here and stop them out of their positions. So for now, your key levels in regards to the NQ is 20,212. We broke above that, so it looks like we're heading towards 20,400, 20,420, 20,430, give or take. And then highest I'm looking at least for now, short term, is 20,500. Now, can we head higher than that? Because you guys know that my all-time high target on the triple Qs is 505 and 510. I just didn't know how we were going to get there, but it looks like we do have the potential to head back up there. So highest I'm looking at in regards to the NQ is about 20,900. That is possible. Do I see it happening anytime soon? No, I still want to see how the market reacts to more upside. But 20,900 is what I'm looking at, right where these guys are. I do think that that is the potential target we can hit if we are going to get head higher. But for now, I want you guys to focus on the first two targets, which is 20,400 and 20,500. And then we'll talk about more upside if the market doesn't like melt up or go ballistic tomorrow based off whoever's elected, whatever the case may be, then we'll talk about more upside then, right? So right now the focus is to pretty much mitigate this area. Let's go down to the 4 hour time frame. So the focus is to pretty much mitigate this area. We talked about this on how the market does not like to leave voids open. Okay, leave this just huge void open. I'm sure there's like at least two fair value gaps in this area, but this huge void, it just needs to be liquidated. And what we call this as traders liquidity grab. So I do believe that that's what we're going to do. We're going to head back up in here and pretty much clear this area out, and then we'll see what happens from there. So that's what I'm looking at in regards to the NQ. Right now, looking pretty bullish, I will say. ES. So ES looks like it wants to head back towards 5,830. Very much possible. You got back above the 5,800 level, which was very key. We just need to hold on at least until tomorrow morning or at least until tomorrow open. But right now, this thing looks absolutely bullish. It looks like it wants to continue to head higher. Now, what I will say in regards to, and I forgot to mention this on the NQ, what I will say is if we continue to head higher with no type of structure, then we're pretty much repeating this same process we see over here. If we just continue to do this with no type of structure, we just shoot up and just continue to shoot up and just leave all this space open down here, then we're going to repeat the same process that we saw to the downside. And at some point in time, we're going to see something like this. Okay, so I will point that out as well. If we start like building structure, then that's a better sign. But if we're just heading straight up, like the market is just like melting up nonstop, I would say that's a bad sign, at least for the long term. I will say that much. Okay, so something to pay attention to. So 5,830 is what I'm looking at. As long as we hold above 5,800, 5,790, if you want to be safe. All right, so that's what I'm looking at. US 100. So US 100 broke back into its rising wedge pattern. We talked about this. I said I won't be bullish or even remotely bullish until we break back into these rising wedge patterns. And we're doing that. Okay, we are breaking back into them. I didn't expect it to happen like before the election. I thought if anything, we get the elections and then boom, we break back into it. But it looks like we're doing it a lot sooner than expected. So looking pretty good right now. I will say. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at for US 100. That's all I want to really focus on. Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I said if Bitcoin stays above 69K, you're pretty much bullish. Okay, so it broke back above, it got back above 69K. I have no complaints at this point. What I will say is that what happened yesterday, we're looking at the daily time frame, by the way. We rejected here, rejected here, rejected here, and so it looks like we just headed back to retest this, and it looks like we're just bouncing higher. So I will say that if Trump is elected, I think Bitcoin can see new highs. I will say that much. Now, another thing I will say is that no matter I this is my belief, no matter who is elected, I still think the market is going to rally. Okay. Now, will we see new highs based on who's elected? I can't say for sure. But what I will say is I think the market is going to rally regardless. And then once the market digests whoever's elected, then we'll see an actual reaction to that. Okay. So hopefully that makes some type of sense. But long term, guys, the market does not care about who's president. I'll just say that. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen what the market cares about. You guys know how I feel about the market. And one thing I always tell you guys is the market cares about big tech earnings. Then, if you want to add more, you could say Fed and then war. Okay. Like actual war that affects the United States. Okay. That's what the market cares about. It doesn't care about who's president long term. Unless the president does something absolutely diabolical, the market just doesn't care. Okay, so and that's been proven time and time again. So we'll see. Okay, but that's what I'm looking at in regards to Bitcoin above 69K. Very much bullish. You want to see it get back above 70,500. After that, you're heading back towards 70,200. And at that point, you can most likely see previous highs again, and then all-time highs. Probably if Trump is elected. We'll see. And so next we're going to look at the actual ETFs. We're going to look at triple Qs because I know a lot of you like to look at that. So the double bottom that we talked about in the last video, we talked about the possibility of this double bottom playing out, and it actually played out. It definitely played out. I had my doubts, of course, but it actually played out. You got your bottom here, your bottom here. You broke the neckline at 490, so it definitely looks like you're going to head higher. And right now, I'm looking at about 497. If we're talking about the measurement of the double bottom and the projected move, all you do is you measure the neckline from the top of the neckline to the bottom of the double bottom pattern. You bring it up to the neckline, and then that will be your measured move. So right now we're looking at about 495. I think we're going to head higher. I think there is a possibility we head towards 497, and then from there we'll see. 500 isn't too much to ask for either, but 495, 497 is what I will focus on as a trader. You do what you want with that information. So double bottom confirmation looks really clean. I I can't argue against it. It's there. It's clear as day. So we'll see. We still have to fill this gap as well at around four. So that's why I have another target of 497. We still have to fill this gap right here on a daily time frame at around 496, 497. So if anything, we could see a move like this where we attempt to break back into the rising wedge pattern. This could lead into a bull trap. I will say that much. So be very much careful once we get back in here and fill this gap. It can very much lead into a bull trap. And then we break further down. So what I will say is pay attention to the NQ. Okay. Pay attention to the NQ, not the triple Qs. Pay attention to the NQ and see what it does and how it reacts within its rising wedge pattern. Because that's pretty much that the NQ pretty much led the charge into this rally happening. So I will pay attention to that more than anything else. And so the SPY, 573 was your key level. We broke back above 573. I got nothing else to say in regards to SPY. You got your double bottom here. You got your bottom here. Bottom here. Your neckline was at 575. You broke above 575. This thing looks good to go. I will say that these candles are showing weakness, so we could see an initial drop tomorrow back to 575. That's really not saying much because we're at like 576 right now. So I mean that's not much to worry about, I will say. But in regards to more upside, I would like to see a move towards 580. We break above 580, we're looking at about 582. And then from there, you're just in this area of turbulence, a lot of turbulence right here. Hopefully, you guys can like get an idea or see this, right? Um, just this whole area right here, a lot of turbulence. So again, we got the catalyst to break above this. I will say that much. We do have the catalyst. We have two catalysts that can cause a breakout above this area. So yeah, so I do imagine that either elections or rate cuts is going to determine whether we break out of this range. Because as you guys can see, we've just been trading in this range on the SPY, just back and forth. So one or both of those catalysts are going to cause some type of breakout to either the upside or back to the downside. If we're talking about the measured move for this double bottom, like we did with the triple Qs, again, you just measure the neckline down to the bottom. You bring it to the top of the neckline, and then you're looking at a move to about 581, 582. So yeah, pretty much at the top of this channel. So we'll see. And so that's what I have for the ETFs and the futures. So we can look at DJT, the Donald Trump uh, ETF stock, whatever it is. All right. So we want to look at this real quick. It's very interesting. So I'm not going to like make promises or anything or say anything crazy and assume that this thing is going to go crazy if Trump is elected. But what I will say is that the weekly time frame, hopefully you guys can see this, right? You have boom, boom, and then a boom. So you have somewhat of a hideous inverse head and shoulders pattern. All right. It's not the cleanest, and the only reason I say it's not the cleanest is because these wicks to the upside. I'm not a fan of this. Okay, I'm just not. All right. But again, you do have something here. Would I take it serious? It's really up to you. But I do imagine if Trump is elected, that this could move back to the upside or see a huge move back to the upside. We'll see. But just thought I'll show that on show you guys this on a weekly time frame. I want to look at Tesla real quick, and then we can get up out of here. Tesla. I do imagine if Trump is elected as well, that Tesla will have a good reaction as well, since him and Elon are like buddies or whatnot. So I will say that Tesla is showing pretty much the same type of pattern. And this again, this is the weekly time frame. So if you are going to play something like this, I would definitely add time to it because you're talking about the weekly time frame, and a breakout from this area can take months, okay, months, years, whatever. Okay, so definitely add time to something like this. But yeah, Tesla looks bullish. It looks like it wants to head back to the upside. I would watch for as long as it stays about 250, you're pretty much bullish. 250, and after that, you're looking at 245. So 245 bullish, 250 extremely bullish. All right. You do have this gap to the downside, so I do imagine that maybe if Trump is not elected, you'll see like a huge reaction on Tesla. We'll see. But other than that, Tesla looks good to the upside above 250. Other than that, that's really all I have. I want to make this quick to get you guys up out of here. Um, so make sure you vote, all that fun stuff. If you don't want to vote, that's fine. I don't care. But other than that, Discord link is in the description below if you want to see how we're going to trade the elections and how we're going to trade rate cuts and all that fun stuff. And also, we do have a free Discord. It's more so about conversations and things like that, sharing charts and things like that. But if you want to join the paid Discord, that's in the description below, where you get my alerts and my trades and my investments and so on and so forth. And yeah, but other than that, that's all I have. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.